Hey guys, I'm Joelle Luganville, and this podcast is going to be about the emerging technology 3D printing. Specifically 3D printing at ECU, where it's been and where it's going. Those text message boxes that we saw at the beginning of this podcast were actually real conversations that I had with two undergraduate students. One of them is Meg McSweeney, who is a graphic design major at ECU, and the other is Tara Leatherwood, who's a fashion merchandising major at ECU. So with finals right around the corner, Joyner Library is flooded with students. It's hard to get a study room, it's hard to find a table, it's hard to find a computer, and many students are trying to print out notes that they didn't print off in the beginning of the semester so that they can cram study for their finals. Well, while you're at Joyner Library, maybe go ahead and take a walk up to the second floor where the Teaching Resources Center is. And on the second floor, there's a production room right by that Teaching Resources Center. And for just 10 cents per gram, you can print just about anything you can imagine, as long as it's about 1 or 2 feet in all dimensions. So say you're sitting there cramming for your test and you want to put all of your pencils in a pencil case because you're ready for action. You're ready to write. Well, you can go print one in the production room with the 3D printers that they have in there. I got a chance to check out these 3D printers not too long ago, and when I went in the production room, Hayden Hallman was in there working and helped me out a little bit of working my way around the room and with the 3D printers. He was saying that this technology has probably been the most popular with engineering students, and this is because they're able to prototype things that they need and different models, and it ends up being a lot cheaper than other ways, such as having a big plastic block or clay block and cutting around it. It's a lot easier and it's a lot cheaper. Hallman was also saying that a lot of people probably don't know about the 3D printing technology, and they don't use the 3D printing software in Joyner Library because they think that it's mostly for engineering and math students. I am not an engineering major or a math major, but I found an interest in this emerging technology when I interviewed a grad student at ECU's Innovation Design Lab over on Jarvis Street about 360 GoPro footage. His name is Bryce Cranwell, and he was saying that 3D printing has been a hot button topic lately with 3D modeling, prototyping, art, design, engineering, you name it. So he had a little bit different of a perspective than Hallman did, but I think that that's because over at the Innovation Design Lab, it is totally centered on people who are there to work on designs and modeling and things like that. Whereas at Joyner Library, you've got an entire mix of people and different majors coming in to study for different things. So when you look at the amount of people who come into Joyner Library and the people of that group who are actually using the 3D printing software, the numbers are very low. It seems like the Innovation Design Lab is only for art and design students at ECU to go there and work on their projects or go take class. And the production room with 3D printing technology in Joyner Library is for any student at ECU who wants to use it. And I actually found out something really cool when I was there. The Innovation Design Lab and the production room and Joyner Library work together a little bit. So when I was over at the Innovation Design Lab, Cranwell had mentioned to me that the GoPro rig he was using had been 3D printed. Not at that lab, he added, but it was in fact 3D printed. And he kind of left me hanging on that one. So when I was over at Joyner Library in the production room, Hallman was talking about some of the things that they had printed and suddenly mentioned a GoPro rig. He was saying that a teacher who had a design class came over to the production room in Joyner Library and asked them to put in the dimensions and print out a 3D rig. So get this, a GoPro Odyssey rig that holds about 12 to 16 GoPro cameras in a pentagon shape costs about $500, right? So instead of this teacher going out and spending $500, she was able to take the dimensions, put them into a request form through someone like Hayden Holloman, who works in the production room, send them into the 3D printing software on a desktop, and for about $10, she was able to print that exact same 3D or that exact same GoPro rig. That is pretty cool. So there might be a couple questions concerning the legality of this, but it's not illegal actually if you can come up with the dimensions and coding on your own and put it into the design software. Then really it's your creation, it's your work, and you're free to do with it as you please. Holloman also mentioned a database for 3D models where anyone can go to search for free designs that they can 3D print, and some of them you're even able to use and modify into your own creation. You just can't print a mass production of somebody else's model for sales purposes so that you can profit from a design that wasn't yours. Although I'm not sure if that point is a legality problem or an ethical issue. Something else that you might be saying to yourself right now is, well, that's cool, but how does 3D printing even work? Well, the way that Holloman explained the process of 3D printing is that there's a spool of plastic. So if you can imagine a roll of yarn or a spool of yarn, but a spool of plastic or whatever material you choose to use, as long as it can be heated up to 300 degrees Celsius, for example, copper, nickel, plastic, and so on and so forth. And once your design is sent to the printer, the plastic is then melted and works in a robotic motion to print your object. One of the two printers I saw in there actually had a mini fan blowing on it as it was printing, so the plastic was cooling as soon as the object was being melted. This will keep it at its most solid form and ensure a good outcome. Cranwell from the Innovative Design Lab actually gave me a really good description, however. He was saying to imagine it as a hot glue gun. Think of it as a hot glue gun with a Z-axis. So if you can think of an L shape, X and Y axis, and then go ahead and draw out another dimension, which would be your Z-axis, for those of you who remember geometry. And then it'll melt the plastic and draw it in layers what your 3D object is. The type of plastic that they use at Joyner Library is actually the same plastic used to make Legos, which seems pretty durable. And they also had another one that would be comparable to a twist-off bottle of Coke, cap. And you can do them in all different colors. They actually had a cool red, white, and blue wind-up looking pencil holder when I was in there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to design or 3D print anything myself during these interviews, but I did get to leave the Innovative Design Lab with a white gourd that someone had printed, and I actually brought it home to my roommates, and we used it as a centerpiece along with fall flowers and a candle for our Friendsgiving dinner. So that was a neat and kind of special way for me to have something that was 3D printed, my first object ever. They had several leftover 3D printed objects in the Innovative Design Lab. Cranwell actually brought out a box to me with a bunch of different things that I could pick through. For example, they had a little purple keychain that was the outline of the North Carolina state, and it was also a bottle cap opener. They also had iPhone 4 cases that people had printed, and I think it just had been picked through, and nobody really owns an iPhone 4 anymore, so that's why the iPhone cases were still there. But that's actually something neat to think about. iPhone cases are about 25 grams, and at 10 cents per gram in Joyner Library, you could send it in design for your iPhone 6, iPhone 7 Plus, whatever you have, and completely customize your own phone case however you'd like. And it would come out to cost you from $2 to $3. So if you go to ECU and you have the time on your hands and you have the creative mind, you should definitely take advantage of the 3D printing technologies that are in Joiner Library. And how you would go about doing that is you would have a design, and if you don't know how to use the 3D printing design software on a desktop, you can actually set up a consultation with somebody like Hayden Hallman, who I interviewed, who works in the production room, and they'll go through your design with you and show you how to upload it. Then you'll send a request in. Somebody, again, like Holloman, would approve the request, and then you would set up a time to come in and 3D print. Holloman was saying that right now, 3D printing for objects that are about 1 foot by 1 foot or 2 feet by 2 feet in dimension take 3 to 4 hours to print, which is actually something that has advanced in the last 5 years, where 5 years ago it was a little more costly and it could take days to print an object. So go ahead and take advantage of that. You can print things, like I said, from an iPhone case to something like a cup or a wine glass. The possibilities are endless, and we can be sure to see these 3D printers in all homes one day, just like smartphones and virtual reality headsets. One last thing I meant to throw in there, Joiner Library actually does hold beginners tutorial sessions for 3D printing. So if you're interested in learning how to do this, go ahead and go on Joiner Library's website. In the search box, search 3D printing, and it'll come up with the dates that they are having these sessions. And for a low price, you can sign up, take the class, and become a 3D printing pro. Again, I'm Joelle Luganville on Pirate News Network, signing off.